Hey, this is my video for why I'm not standing up for WWE. I'm not standing up for Vince or Linda McMahon because, well, I'll jump right into it. And the first reason is steroids and the wellness policy. The wellness policy is a joke. And if you want to learn more about steroids and steroid abuse in the WWE, do a search on YouTube for Jim Cornette and drugs. And listen to what Jim Cornette has to say about it. He's been there. He knows how they work. But I'll say this. Isn't it interesting that it's only mid-carders who seem to get suspended for wellness policy violations? With the possible, the only person who I can think of who wasn't a mid-carder or, a jobber, part of the mid-card, is Rey Mysterio. And Rey has only been world champion twice, and so I'm not sure if you can consider him a main eventer in the same way that you can with, Cena, Edge, and the rest. But anyway, the wellness policy is there so WWE can say to the public, oh, we're keeping track of this. We're telling all our employees not to use drugs. We really don't want them to use steroids. Oh no, and we're gonna make sure that they don't. See this guy over here? We just suspended this guy because he was using steroids. That proves that we mean what we say. No, it's bullshit. It's public relations. They'll suspend somebody every so often so that it looks like they're keeping an eye on people. But the bottom line is Vince has always wanted his talent to be huge and muscular and jacked up. He wants them to look like Batista. He wants them to look like Sheamus. He wants them to look like John Cena. And so, you're told, if you're a wrestler in developmental, in FCW, you are told you got to get bigger. You got to bulk up more. If you don't bulk up more, you're not going to be called up and get on Raw or SmackDown. And so, and they don't say in so many words, you got to take steroids to get as bulked up as we want you to be, but that is the implication. So a lot of guys do. They inject themselves full of steroids, and they shorten their lifespans as a result. And later on in life, these guys die, like Eddie Fatu did, and like Eddie Guerrero did, and like Tess did, and to use another example from from last year, Lance Cade did. It's bad for them. But that's what WWE wants these guys to get as big and muscular as they can, and because that's how they want guys to look. And so a guy will bulk up and he gets called up to Raw or SmackDown, and then he gets there and they say, oh, don't use drugs. You have a wellness policy. If you use drugs, you'll get suspended. At best, it's a mixed message. At worst, it's like I said, it's just PR. That, it's like, oh, don't use drugs, wink. Yeah, they'd never suspend John Cena for using drugs because using drugs is what got John Cena in the shape he's in. And if they took John Cena off TV, then they'd lose money. Vince doesn't want to lose money. Batista was very obviously on steroids. He ever get suspended? No. Because taking him off TV would have cost Vince money. Vince wants to make money. And the reason Eddie Fatu got fired was because WWE didn't want him dying. They didn't want to risk him dying while he was still a WWE employee. They thought, shit, how are we going to look if another one of this guy drops dead while he's an employee of ours? We got to get rid of him to protect ourselves from bad public relations. They didn't care about the guy's health. And they certainly didn't discourage him from taking steroids in the first place. They were just worried about how it would look if a guy died while he was an employee of theirs. Fortunately for Vince, Eddie Fatu didn't die until after he was, not with the WWE for several months. So WWE had deniability. WWE could say, oh, it's terrible what happened to Eddie Fatu, but it had nothing to do with us. Who knows what kind of unhealthy, poisonous shit he was putting into his body when he was away from our company. No, he never did anything harmful to himself when he was with us. Oh, no, sir, about fucking bullshit. So there's that. Steroid abuse is encouraged. Wrestlers are dropping like flies. They have been continuing to drop like flies since the wellness policy was implemented, which proves to me that the wellness policy is ineffective and is a crock, and that's how it is. And then there's the schedule, the 300 workday a year schedule. It is hell on the human body. Ask any wrestler who's wrestled for WWE who, doesn't have to worry about losing their job for bad-mouthing the company. And they'll tell you. I mean, and you don't even need to ask a wrestler. Just ask somebody who engages in regular physical activity, who plays sports regularly, who works out regularly. Ask them, do you need time for your body to rest up? They'll tell you, yes, you do. Otherwise, it takes a toll on your body. And but WWE wants to make as much money as possible. They want to cram as many house shows as possible into a year, along with the Raw shows and the SmackDown tapings and all that. So they want their guys to work 300 days a year. Guys are exerting themselves, and that makes you sore by itself, even if you aren't taking bumps or taking chair shots or being thrown into barricades or whatever. So they're in pain all the time. These guys are literally in pain to varying degrees all the time. And that's if they're lucky enough not to get hurt. If they get hurt, they got to work through the injury, if it is possible. The Undertaker famously wrestled the first Hell in a Cell against Mick Foley with a broken foot. I am not making that up. Look it up, Google it. He wrestled a fucking match with a broken foot. He shouldn't have even been competing. He should have been healing up. Vince should have had him on whatever the WWE's equivalent of the disabled list is, but no. Vince McMahon didn't want to, he wanted that match to go on as scheduled. So Undertaker had to wrestle with a broken foot. That's just one example. So these guys are in pain all the time. And that's why they get addicted to painkillers. If Vince just put on the Raw shows and just did the SmackDown tapings and did, significantly fewer house shows, then it would be a whole lot easier on their bodies and these guys wouldn't get addicted to painkillers. They wouldn't need drugs to get through this grueling schedule. but Vince isn't willing to sacrifice that money. So the guys keep getting addicted to painkillers, just like they keep using steroids, and they keep dropping dead. And you know, there's other stuff, and maybe I could make another video about that if the mood strikes me. I could talk about the independent contractor thing, about how these guys are treated, classified as independent contractors when they're clearly full-time employees. I could talk about how the women are treated. I could talk about all kinds of stuff, but those are the two main things. You know, those are the two biggest things that piss me off about Vince McMahon. He does want his guys to have the kinds of physiques that you can only get through steroids, and he does push them way too fucking hard and work them way too fucking hard. And that's why they keep dying. And Vince wants to claim that he's not in the least bit responsible. Fuck you, Vince. Fuck you. You are responsible for every single one of these deaths. These guys who have died in their 30s or their 40s. These guys who are lucky to live into their 50s. Fuck you, Vince. And fuck you, Linda. Because you know truth about all this, and you're trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes and make it seem like you give a shit about your employees when you don't. And you know, I am not a Republican. I can never imagine myself voting Republican, but this doesn't even have anything to do with that. If it were a if Linda were running as a Democrat, and if she, I would still be pissed off about this shit. That's why I'm not standing up for WWE, because I think WWE is a fucked up company with fucked up policies as they pertain to its employees. I think the WWE has got to change, and I do not think that Linda McMahon is a good person. I do not think that she deserves to win this election. And that's all I got to say about it for now. That's why I'm not standing up for WWE. I don't think anybody else should stand up for WWE, and I definitely don't think anybody should defend or stand up for Linda or Vince McMahon. That's my opinion on it.